So today I am with Dr. Gonde, who is a Zimbabwean based in Harare, Zimbabwe. And Dr. Gonde is a pharmacist, so he is into medicines.
That's
And
right.
he did his PhD here in South Africa at the University of KwaZulu-Natal,
That's
but
right.
also studied in Cuba. He also studied in the UK, and he also studied at the Management Institute, the Zimbabwe Institute of Management, for his leadership studies. So today I'm going to spend this hour with him to just discuss, some of the things about our continent, and we want to hear some of his passions about Africa. So he is in public health, and his passion is to really just enhance public health in our continent, or is it on our continent? So, Dr. Gonde, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. So, maybe to just start, tell us about yourself. Who is Dr. Gonde?
Well, Dr. Gonde is a pharmacist, like you rightly said, Zimbabwean, Cuban educated. I mean, my first degree was in Cuba, so I did spend quite a lot of time in Cuba. So you can actually call me a communist if you like. This is where some of this passion comes from, passion for health.
Yes.
Because as you might know, Cuba is a leader when it comes to health issues. So that's where some of that passion comes in. So I did my pharmacy in Cuba. So maybe I'm one of the few Spanish-speaking Zimbabweans here.
Okay, so you can
Yes.
speak Spanish very well.
Sí, señor. So
Okay.
yeah. So that's me. I've been quite nomadic though. I worked in Zimbabwe for a while just after university, right? Then before I knew it, I left for Botswana, where I was like in the thick of things when it comes to antiretrovirals. So I got a lot of my training when it comes to HIV in Botswana, under the auspices of what they called Kitso, which is like it was training tailor-made for us by Harvard University. So I worked in Botswana for quite a while at their main hospital, Princess Marina Hospital.
Okay.
And before I knew it, I was in England. I was in England where I worked for a while in England, but at the same time, I did my master's at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Yeah, I did my master's in science in public health there. And guess what? After that, I came back home. And before I knew it, I found myself in South Africa again.
Okay.
Doing a PhD. So basically, yeah, it's been a whirlwind, and here I am now doing what I enjoy, public health. I'm a pharmacist. I find myself most of the times in community pharmacy, but I do try to talk to a lot of people. Dare I say that being a pharmacist, your kind of interests change. I started with an interest in HIV, and before I knew it, I realized there's something wrong. There's there are a lot of counterfeit drugs in Africa, so my focus changed to counterfeit drugs, and when I came back to Zimbabwe, I noticed that we have a problem with non-communicable diseases. So I said, no, I think this is something that we have to look at. Why are people dying like this with non-communicable diseases? And
Yes.
that's what I did for my PhD. So Yeah,
Non-communicable
now.
diseases would be something like malaria and stuff like that.
No. Those are communicable.
Okay.
Non-communicable would be like hypertension, diabetes, cancer,
Uh-huh. Okay.
diseases that cannot be transmitted from one person to another.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. That's
So
great.
here I
So
am.
what was your main research in your PhD?
All right. I did the topic of my study was assessment of the diabetes and hypertension situation in high density suburbs of Harare, Zimbabwe, and it was a case of Heathcliff. So Heathcliff is just is a very unique ghetto. It's a very unique ghetto here in. It's the second biggest growing ghetto here in Harare.
Okay.
But what makes Heathcliff very unique is that it is separated by a road. It is separated by a road, and the other side is a suburb called Borodale, where the very influential people live. So Heathcliff is actually a very interesting little ghetto.
Okay.
So most of the poor and vulnerable live there, but across it is a very influential suburb. In actual fact, on one side is Borodale, and it's surrounded by other influential suburbs like Mount Pleasant. So it's a very interesting ghetto.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only place that I remember very well in Harare is waterfalls.
Waterfalls. Okay. No, that's
Yes.
yeah, that's like a
and
middle
another one is Avondale.
You see, Avonde is not too far from here, from actually
Okay.
from Borodale.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have when I came to Harare, I've stayed in Avondale, and then I stayed there in Waterfall. Now, you know, as an African,
Yes.
when you look at what is happening to our continent, it's one of those continents that most of the times, when you mention Africa, for example, the
Yes.
picture that usually comes, I was interviewing another doctor here on African legends,
Yeah.
one of the professors at Wits University. She was just telling me that if you Googled African, most of the times you get a woman carrying a calabash on her head.
That's
and
right.
probably having a child on her back and looking most of the times very poor.
Yes.
Now, when you look at that, the poverty, the underdevelopment, lack of visionary leadership and stuff like that, what do you think us as Africans, we can do to change that picture? Because nobody will change it for us.
That's right. What it is that Africa is a very diverse place. I've managed to travel right across Africa. I've been lucky to travel right across Africa. And Africa is not, it's not really that homogeneous like place that people make it to be. Africa has been labeled the dark continent. It's been for a very long time. It's been labeled the dark continent, and I'm beginning to realize why it's been labeled the dark continent. It's because we 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 have been sort of like we haven't been taught the truth for a very long time. They deliberately kept us in the dark so that we don't show what we've got as a continent. So having been kept enough, we've been a lost people. We've been a lost people. I've seen some very sad cases, I've seen some sad cases here in Zimbabwe, sad cases in Dondo, right, in Angola. I've seen some sad cases if you travel deep down in Zambia. you realize that Africa is a very diverse place, but at the same time, I think Africa could be better managed. That's what I think. If you go to Angola, I mean, sorry, not Angola. If you go to the DRC, deep down in Lubumbashi, you will see that Africa, there are similarities in Africa. There are similarities in Africa. This is the Africa that I'm talking about, is the Black Africa. I normally want to talk about the Black Africa, not the North Africa. The Black Africa is what I really want to talk about. You know, so I've realized that we're not managing what we have very well, and if we're not careful, there will be very little for our kids left for our grandchildren. You know, you and I are probably the same age, but for our grandchildren, there won't be much left. They'll probably look at some features in photos, and they'll be told, "This was Africa. This was your country before." You know, I had an experience once when I went to Mauritius at one time. And when I was in Mauritius, one of our tour guides says to me, "You know what? In this country, there used to be a bird. It used to be called the dodo."
A dodo.
So, a dodo, yeah. So the dodo was a bird which was it was rich in fat, but a very slow bird. You know, you could actually chase it and catch it. You know, so but it was a very good tasting bird. It tasted almost like chicken. So what happened is that I think it was the Dutch that went into Mauritius when they colonized Mauritius at one time, and the Dutch ate all those dodos. That's how the dodo. That's how the dodo became extinct. You know, so I think if you look at their flag, or if you look at most of the flags in Mauritius,
they have a dodo on it.
They've got a dodo on it, but no one has seen a dodo before.
Wow.
You see now. So here we are. This is Africa. This is Africa. I was just talking to somebody, and I was saying, you see, we don't realize what we've got. We don't realize what we've got. We are not poor. We are a rich continent. We are a very rich continent, in fact. And dare I say that chances are that the Western world knows what we've got more than us. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to say. So here we are. You know, you look at the plundering that's going on in Angola. As I was traveling in Angola, all I could see was very expensive timber being taken from the rural Angola. You know, guess who was driving those trucks? I won't even mention the race. So they are driving those trucks right to the ports, and the timber is being exported.
Wow.
Yeah, the timber, the very expensive timber, is being exported, and there are roadblocks along the way. Nobody stops those trucks, and that wood is going straight into straight. You know, it's gonna be shipped. It's the same thing if you go to Zambia. I've seen a lot that is happening. Yes, I've seen a lot that is happening here. The other day I was driving here in Harare, and I noticed a truckload of soil and stones, you know. And in front of that, about two trucks. In front of that truck, there's two small little cars leading, two small little cars following, and our resources are getting plundered as we are looking. You know, we are looking and we're doing nothing about it. You know, so to me, whatever is happening in Africa is almost the same. You know, this is just a little snippet of what is happening in Africa. But back to your question, you were asking, I think your question is,
what can we do?
What can we do? first and foremost, there's one thing that I admired about Botswana. Because I've seen, during my stay in Botswana, I've seen ministers going to prison, and I happened to work very closely with Botswana. I remember I was in the government, and at one time I was actually responsible for, let me say, very important people in Botswana. I was quite responsible for their health. And what I wanted to say is that Botswana is very jealous with what they have. They are a country that has got diamonds, as we know, but they are very jealous with what they've got, you know. And what I've seen in Botswana is that Botswana is actually, I think it has been said that is one of those countries that is run like a company. It has been said so many times that Botswana is run like a company. I haven't been there in a while now, but certainly what I can say is that the governance is proper. You know, the accountability during my time was proper, you know. So if Botswana is run like a company, what are we saying? From my leadership school, I know that when a company is not performing well, you ask yourself, why is it not performing well? Why is it not performing well? You know, we know that here in most of our countries in Africa, most of the countries that I've seen are actually they are operating in a VUCA environment. VUCA, VUCA.
Yeah.
In other words, they are vulnerable, they are uncertain, they are complex situation, they are ambiguous situations. That's what I mean. So you notice that, that's the kind of environment that they work in. But then if our countries were like companies, like I'm saying, if we really wanted to look at our company and say, how do we manage our country? How do we steer our country properly out of the murky waters, so to say? We would do a pestle analysis, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so? We would do a pestle analysis. In other words, we would look at the politics of the country, would look at the economy of the country, would look at the sociological aspects of the country, would look at the technology in a country, would look at the legal aspects in a country, and would look at like the environment in a country. So these are the kind of things that are not, if it was a machine, I would say there's something amiss. They're not clicking. I'm not going to talk of a particular country in Africa, but if that was the case, I'm sure those are the various aspects we would really look at, not just from an academic point of view, but we have to learn to operationalize those aspects that I'm talking in the pestle aspect of it. What is it that we're doing with the politics? Is politics leading the way so much so that we are blinded, We get instances of countries that are led by lawyers, Where is the engineer in all this, Where is the architect who has the eye for beauty in all this? Where is the doctor who actually looks at the health in all of the decisions you make? That, for me, is the Achilles heel. That's where Africa is getting it wrong. The mix is wrong.
Don't you think that from what you have just explained, when you look at a company, when a company is not performing, the CEO is fired. The shareholders will not allow that to happen. They can't be bleeding money.
I mean, yes, I get you, because That's the accountability we're talking about.
Yes.
That's the accountability we're talking about, you know. So that accountability is not there.
Yeah,
It's not there.
because our politics, what I'm trying to say is that our politics seems to put ahead just people that are very, militant.
Oh, yes.
But these guys sometimes they may not be visionary leaders.
That's right.
When you look at guys that have developed their countries, you look at Korea, for example,
Yes.
it's because of visionary leadership.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at Singapore, it's a very small city, but it's a country, and it's because of leadership. Now,
Yes, that's right.
when you come to Africa,
Mm-hmm.
our leadership is a little. I don't even know. What you can call this kind of leadership, where vision is not part of the game.
It's not part of
But
the. Yes, I get what you are saying, because if if I don't know if if I may, I wish I could draw. I wish I had a board, but there's something that I learned. Right? There's something
yes,
that I learned when I was at leadership school. That
yeah,
to have visionary leaders who walk the talk is
yes,
very, very important. Because if you look at where most of our African countries are, I'll give you an example. Actually, in that illustration that was shown, you looked at we looked at, I think it was Malaysia, we looked at Ghana, we looked at Nigeria, and we looked at Japan. Of course, Japan has done so well. If you notice what, Japan has grown exponentially.
mm,
Yeah, the economy, the GDP has grown exponentially. Then you notice one thing: our so-called second world countries. That was like Malaysia. Malaysia is growing at the pace, but it's not as fast paced as Japan. But it is certainly growing. Guess what? Malaysia, I think it was 1950 thereabout. Malaysia, Ghana, Nigeria almost had the same GDP.
wow,
Yes, they had almost the same GDP. Now, I wanted to say something more. Right, Nigeria, Ghana, with all its oil, with all its gold, and what have you, and all those resources. If you look at that line, they are just below that growth line. They are just below Malaysia. They are just below Malaysia. But guess what?
yeah,
Japan does not have a single mineral. It does not.
wow,
Japan does not rely on a single mineral. You
wow,
see? Yeah. Whereas we have all these minerals. I mean, if you look at Zimbabwe, for example, Zimbabwe is, I think, it's a very rich country.
yes, it is.
My country is not a poor country. So you look at Zambia with all its copper, its cobalt. Zambia is not a poor country, and I keep on telling people that Zambia is not actually a poor country, but I think it's the prioritization that lacks.
Yeah,
The prioritization that lacks.
yeah,
And if I like one word that our former president here in Zimbabwe used to use, it was beneficiation. He used to love that word,
yeah,
beneficiation. And our former president always used to say, what is it that you find so fascinating about, going to work with a suit, a three-piece suit for that matter? You
yeah,
love going to work with the three-piece. Why don't you create employment, which is where we lack as Africans? We should
yeah,
be thinking of beneficiation,
yeah,
creating employment. for Africans by Africans.
Yeah. You know, that is key for me because collectively, as a people, we have a very inferior image.
Yes.
And the reason is collectively as a people, we are not very good at building things.
Yes.
You know, what you're talking about now is we need to build companies. You know, we need to build these huge corporations that can dish out, employment.
Yes.
When you look at the psyche of an African, don't you think that there could be something that is wrong with the way that we think that is inhibiting our development and also our movement, into a future that is benefiting every African?
Yeah, that certainly is very true. Actually, today I was just one of the problems, if I may point out, one of the problems is Africans is that we work in silos. Just this morning, I was speaking to one of my mentors. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by professors. Of course, one of the biggest influences that I've had is my own mentor, Prof. Chimbari. He's actually a dean at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Prof. Chimbari has had a lot of influence on the way I think. But just this morning, I was talking to one of my professors, Prof. Nyepi.
Yeah.
He happens to be a Motswana because I was just checking on her and I said, Prof, are you okay? What's the COVID situation? They're like, Prof, is there a mental limitation in the way we think? Why don't we have a vaccine?
Yeah.
For Africans? Because like we were talking and Prof was saying, look here, the thing is, Gonde, I don't know if I should get vaccinated at my age. Look what's happening with the Glaxo vaccine. I don't know whether I should get vaccinated or not. And I was saying, Prof, I don't have an answer. I've got a scientific answer for that. But we should be asking ourselves why up to now we are waiting for vaccines from India.
Because that to me is the crux of the matter. When an African problem is presented to the world, most of the times we don't look at the problem that it's going to be solved by us as Africans.
Yes, because what actually surprised me is the way Prof said, look here, we have been, for the longest time, we've been making vaccines for our cattle in Botswana. They make vaccines in Botswana.
Yeah.
And I was saying, wow, wasn't this a window of opportunity for us to actually pull our resources together, pull our best scientists together, pull our best brains in Africa, put them in a hotel for a whole month, put them in a hotel for a whole month and say, ladies and gentlemen, we need a cure we need not a cure, we need a vaccine for what is happening here in Africa. The plant is already there in Botswana. We need to work as fast as possible, because to be very honest, if you look at it, it's like we don't lack the brains. We do have the brains for that,
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, even the Pfizer vaccine, Pfizer vaccine that we're talking about, one of the lead scientists there is a Zimbabwean who came out of the dusty.
Wow.
One of the dusty ghettos here. So it's a matter of giving these people opportunities. They will perform. Now, this is what I wanted to say, that I think our problem is that colonization is really, it really played a part on the way we think, because there's no reason why we could not have a top scientist from Mozambique or from Bissau.
But here is another thing, Dr. Gonde.
Yes.
And I see here someone is watching. Her name is Rachel,
All
and
right.
she says, if a vaccine is made in Africa, a
Mhm.
lot of people would be skeptical. Now, this is what I want to mention. If a vaccine was made in Africa that is just as good as the Pfizer one,
Mhm.
there are two problems. The first is that there's a very big possibility, like Rachel is saying on Facebook right now,
Mhm.
that the Africans themselves would be the first ones to despise it.
Mhm.
And then secondly, the Western world as well cannot trust anything that was built by an African. What do you think about that?
I could flip that question as well. I could flip that question. Yes, we know in Africa we have a penchant for foreign things, you know.
Yes.
But I could flip that question because my travels has actually showed me that there are just many scientists out there in Europe that are not employed. What if we bring those scientists in Africa to actually come up with this vaccine, market it as much as possible? Because you know, the thing is, if we are saying that Africans would not accept this, we would want to know what is it that's in the psyche of an African that actually deters them from not
Yeah.
trusting what we are making. There are a lot of things that we are making here in
Yeah.
Africa, you know.
Yeah.
So if say we bring in some Koreans, we bring in an Englishman, we bring in an American, would that make it any better?
Yeah, because that's where the problem is, Dr. Gonde.
Yeah.
If you had two shops selling
Mm-hmm.
the same things,
Mm-hmm.
standing next to each other,
Yeah.
you have this shop from an Asian person and
Mm-hmm.
this shop from, let's just not because we are racist or anything,
Yeah.
but this shop by a black African
Mm-hmm.
going to the same wholesalers to buy goods to put in their shops.
Yeah.
What would happen is most of the times
Mm.
the Africans would patronize the other shop, but they would not go to the shop that is for their fellow Africans. Why do you think we think that way? That anything African is not good?
Yeah, that's true. We have a mental limitation there. We have a mental limitation there. So the way I would put it, the way I would put it is that you know, the way I look at it is that we as Africans have to we have to, nobody is going to bridge this kind of thought process for us.
Yeah,
You know, nobody will come in. Actually, the more we are polarized in thought like that, the more the Western world actually loves it.
yeah,
The more they love it. So it's actually sad, it's pathetic that we do have a mentality like that. And just to answer Rachel, the colleague who just asked this question, just to answer that question, I would say, look, there wasn't going to be any problem, for example, if we had made that vaccine specifically for Africa. But if we had allowed the media, the very big media, to come in, remember, the pharma industry is a multi-trillion business.
yeah,
So obviously they've got their people who are in the media who would love to misinform, who would love to disinform at the same time. But if we had made our vaccine in such a way that it was a vaccine specifically for Africa, you know, just a vaccine for us, for Africans, without all this media hype, I'm sure we would have done very well
so,
with our vaccine.
so then what you are saying to me and to the people that are watching this today, Dr. Gonde,
Mm.
is that there is one, there is a deliberate misinformation
Yes, and
about
disinformation as well.
anything about African.
Yes.
And then the other thing then that I would want to ask you, because you mentioned that these other big farmers, pharma companies,
Yeah.
pharmaceutical companies, they have
Yeah.
their own, media people. I remember watching
It's a machine. It's a machine. It's a well-oiled machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that propaganda. So
Yeah.
what sort of education then do we need for our people, these Africans, that will
We
change the trajectory of our continent?
we have to play to our strengths. We really have to play to our strengths. And as it is right now, we need a magnet for the good in Africa. We need a magnet for the good and what I call a repellent for the bad.
Uh-huh.
And I will keep on saying it. No one is going to do it for us. No one is going to do it for us. If we do something and our governments work together and say, this is what we want, this is what's good for our people, with one voice, who can stop such a movement? If the vaccine was a movement, who would stop such a movement?
We can only stop
because
ourselves.
like right now, I've got friends from all over the place. Friends from I receive calls from all over the place, and the question that I am being asked right now is, are you taking the Chinese vaccine? Taking the Chinese vaccine? So that's the mentality that we have. I'm not sure if we had our own African vaccine versus the Chinese, which one would have had a better uptake?
Obviously, the Chinese one would win the day.
You reckon?
Yes, because the other thing also is that I believe myself that the solution to this whole issue is going to come from a mindset that is going to place ourselves as Africans at the same level with other races.
Yes.
I don't believe that we are superior than other races, just like I don't believe that other races are superior to us. But what has happened in history has made us feel inferior about ourselves look at ourselves as inferior. And that is why you would find that if, for example, a vaccine, there was a story when COVID was starting, very early when COVID was starting, there was a story that came out of Madagascar, that the Madagascans had found a cure for. But like you have said already, immediately the big organizations came on these huge TV networks and they said that is not true.
That's right.
Without they didn't tell us that they have gone to verify in the lab that that is not true. They didn't tell us that they have gone, to investigate, take people who are COVID positive and put them on that medication, and those people didn't get better. They didn't tell us that. They just told us that this is not true. And that is what is happening with a lot of things, on our continent. Anything that is African is not
it's not good.
It's not good.
So that's what I'm saying, that our mindset is like Africa. It has to change. It really has to change if we are to move forward.
How do we change that? Because I think you are a PhD, Dr. Gonde, in pharmaceutical, in the pharmaceutical field. Yes. So you understand these medicines and all these things. You have worked in all these countries we can call developed countries. So I don't think that you are any different from a person, for example, who went to the London, School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicines, because you were in the same class with them. You did the same experiments. You were taught by the same professors. But what happens to an African professor or a PhD when they come to Africa that they don't get things done here in Africa?
Yeah. You know what it is, eh? There's something that I learned. I think it's an English saying. I can't remember the author, who was saying that in times of universal deceit, the truth becomes revolutionary. In times of universal deceit, the truth becomes revolutionary. In other words, the narrative that is being said out there is a narrative that is anti-African, so to say. It's anti-African. So here we are. You see why all this xenophobia is happening, and what if we? It's because of it all comes from the way the colonialism. What it has done to us. It it has actually separated ourselves as people. You know, if you look at the way the world is going right now, you realize that the more we advance as people, the more distant we are as people, the more we actually, we're not finding ourselves as people. So yeah, we are becoming separated more and more as the world. And have you noticed that the world is actually moving faster now? Before we know it, it's 2022. You know, but the world is actually moving faster than we realize.
I was yes, go ahead.
Technology is not stopping either. It's not stopping. But chances are that our thinking has remained the same, but the world is moving. And I'll tell you what, for some people it works out perfectly fine like that. Yeah.
So our lack of development and our lack of unity as a collective, you know, works better for the other people, because now there is also that story of the few Africans, you know, the elite Africans, you know, when they find an opportunity to benefit, you know, from these vouchers, we can call them that, you know. You know, when they buy them a Mercedes Benz,
that's enough.
They can sell a country.
They can sell their souls.
Yes. You know, how do we change that? You know, how do we change that mentality? Because here I see again, Rachel is saying here on the group, she says that people, they come to Africa, they mine gold.
That's right.
Here in Africa, they mine gold, they mine diamonds, and then they take it out of Africa. And when it comes to Africa, or even in those same countries, when you see the way Africans shop in New York, you will be very, very, you know, because they take all this money and then they shop their things that could be made here in Africa. I was watching, I think it was a minister of something in Ghana, who was talking about the fact that they want to stop exporting cocoa.
Yes.
Because
good move that, you know. That's the beneficiation we're talking about.
But I can tell you, before that is done, there's going to be a lot of pain for Ghana first.
Yeah, but you know what it is, eh? I think if you notice, if you notice who's getting those kickbacks and what have you, there's a certain age group. That's getting feedbacks. There's a certain age group. So the way I've always said is, no, look, the youth are the future. Those are but you know, having said that, the youth are the future, what I've realized is that, funnily enough, the youth are now getting tagged along you know, by this, should I say, the elderly who were caught up in their in some bad habits. They are being tagged
Yeah.
along, and slowly, the value of work, the value of work gets eroded that way. You know, even the youth believe, well, maybe it's I can make money in I can make money faster if I'm into tenders and all that. It's happening
Yeah.
all over Africa, you
Yeah.
know, and you would notice that the work ethic is something that is missing in our youth. You know,
Yeah.
your normal kind of youth doesn't know. Most of them now don't know what it is like to work to start work at 8 and finish at 5.
Yeah.
You know, so if we don't work on our youth, we have a serious problem. If we don't work on the work ethics, there's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you know is very, I think it's also coming from the same mindset because of the poverty,
Mhm.
and because we were colonized,
That's
and
right.
we thought that the things that we see from our other friends, the other races, just came
Mhm.
out of thin air.
That's
You
right.
know, what we don't realize is that those things were built. You
Mhm.
know, the companies that we are seeing today that are dominating the world, they were not built in 2 days. These things were built, from ground zero to where they are
Ken,
today. Even
Ken,
if there were a lot of things that were wrong,
yeah.
but we can't take away the fact that the building was done. You know, I saw a video recording today of a university here in Pretoria that just opened, that was built, from the donations by the Afrikaner communities. You
Mhm.
know, they built a full-time university. But you will see what is going to happen to our people. Our people have already started saying, why this, why that? Why can't we ourselves go out as well and build our own university, just like that one has been built?
That's right. I wanted to say, you know, the saying that Rome was not built in a day.
Yes.
It explains everything. It explains everything. We have to start from somewhere. We have to start from somewhere, to be very honest. That's exactly why I was looking at, you know, we actually have to self-actualize. The
Yeah.
self-actualization has to be faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we self-actualize, we have got a better chance of we've got a better chance of a better life, a better perspective. The lens by which we are going to look at things is
Yeah.
actually, yeah, is actually
Yeah,
going to be different.
for me,
Mm,
Dr. Gonde, it really pains me because,
mm,
for example, I can see, when we took over from the British, for example, Zambia now is about, is it 55, 57 years
yeah.
independence?
Mhm.
When you look at the companies in Zambia, there are very few companies that were started by our own people that are that big that you can even say it's a company. you
Mm,
know when
mm,
you look at here in South Africa, the same thing as well.
yeah.
There are in South Africa, at least they have done quite well. Some black guys have started good companies, but it's
Mm,
it's isolated stories.
yes.
It's isolated stories. What we need is this collective, narrative that we can have. Look at what the Chinese have done. Look at what the Koreans are doing, the
Mm,
Malaysians, what they are doing. These
yeah.
guys are not waiting for the West to come and do stuff. Now they are actually neck to neck with some of these countries. Even
Ye-
in some
eh,
things, they may even be ahead. Why
yes.
can't we do the same?
No, political will is very important for us to be able to bridge that no-do gap. The political will, as long as our governments allow us to actually do what we want to do with very little what do you call this,
Interference.
interference, but at the same time, uh, at the same time, if they give us the right incentives, I don't think anything is impossible. You've seen a lot of cases where they say, "Oh, this is a wonder kid from Nigeria. He's built this and that and that." But at the same time, we're not harvesting such brains, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what people don't seem to realize, China just didn't come from nowhere. When it comes to China, there's something called re-engineering. That's how China is grown. You know, I wonder why here in Africa, you know, we don't have that much of re-engineering. Is it because, like I said, is it because you know, we don't prioritize that? Because the way China does it is, for example, they buy a Mercedes Benz from Germany. You know what they do when they get there?
They
Buy
re-engineer it
one
into.
Mercedes Benz, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they tear it apart. That's the re-engineering I'm talking about. Part by part, they tear that Mercedes Benz apart. And then the next thing is, okay, how do we make a plastic steering wheel out of this? How do we make cheap, maybe a cheap diff out of this? You know, how do we make this so that the Mercedes Benz that we are going to make is actually a very cheap version, and we'll give it our name, you know, a Chinese name.
Yes.
And that's how China is grown, because of, you know, of re-engineering. So you sometimes you look at us. We have all we are capable of everything. Yeah, we're capable of it because we have all the materials that we need. But I think we this is where we lack. We just have to, you know, even our education system has to be done in such a way that we can just go above that mental limitation we have, you know.
Yeah.
We have so many schools. For example, if you look in South Africa, there you have Zambia, you look at Zimbabwe, you've got how many engineers have come out of those countries in the last, say, 10 years? How many bridges have been built?
Yeah.
If you look at my field, for example, I always ask myself, maybe Zimbabwe, I think when it comes to graduates, pharmacy graduates, we're looking at almost 200 graduates per annum.
Wow.
But then we say to ourselves, how many new drugs do we have out of those 200, you know? So that gap is there. That gap is there. I mean, our education system sort of like does not allow it gives us a good base. It gives us a good base. But like one of my favorite books says that it's called Think and Grow Rich. It was written by Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
I like a section where he talks about, you know, how we grow up being told that knowledge is power. But then he says, is knowledge really power? Is knowledge really power? Then I think
only
he
when it's
answers it and he
applied.
says, eh? He says,
Knowledge is only power when it's applied.
yes, when it's applied. And he talks about specialized power being knowledge. So as it is right now, we're not specializing in much in Africa. So this is how we're going to remain stagnant, and how you know, there will be so much in Asia. In Asia, when it comes to the revolution, the fifth revolution that we're trying to create in Africa. So so if we don't move on as a country and, you know, leverage on each other, we will simply be a place where people come to milk. All the beneficiation is done there.
Yes.
And at the same time, we will be left with nothing.
Yeah. I like the word beneficiation, because you know, when an African leader is thinking,
yes,
most of the times they are not thinking about the collective. most of the times our leaders, don't think about the people they are leading. They usually think about leadership in Africa. What I see myself, maybe I am wrong, but what I see in Africa, leadership is a place to find an opportunity to be closer to opportunities.
Yes, yes.
More than it is a responsibility to save the good of the collective. I
That's
don't
right.
believe that when a person is a leader, he should be poor. But
Mm.
what I believe is that our leaders must think about the people and about what they can do to save the people as a collective, more than they think about buying the next car and
That's right.
buying the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, leave a
And
legacy.
shipping.
That's leadership is about leaving a legacy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's right.
So as we just, our time is finished, Dr. Gonde.
Oh, really?
Yes, it has. We
Oh,
are.
what a pity. Time flies.
Yes, these discussions, they make you. That's why you can't see that the time is gone. But what
Time
I want
flies.
to ask you now is, I always ask this question at the end of our program.
Yes.
If you were given an opportunity to dream about Africa and to make an Africa what your dream was, what would that be? What do you envision about Africa?
The Africa that I would want to see for my grandchildren or my great grandchildren is an Africa that knows no war. A peaceful Africa, an Africa that is diverse, an Africa that is very interconnected.
Okay.
This time I'll say from Cape to Cairo, but
Yes.
interconnected in a way that we benefit so much from the resources that we have. I want to see an Africa where uh, things are inverted. For example, I want to see an Africa where people from outside the continent come to study, So
Mm.
that's the Africa that I'm looking at, an Africa that is leading in technology. That's the Africa I would want to look at. In Africa that, to me, in Africa that knows no xenophobia, for example. Just the other day I was looking at the Oxford debate, and actually the debate is still going on at Oxford, and they were
Yeah.
talking about a United States of Africa. Is it feasible? Let's ask ourselves: is the United States of Africa feasible? And if it's not feasible, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things that when you sit down with Africans um, all across right now, I think the narrative is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our people really want our continent to be a better place to live, and a safer place to live, and also
That's
just
right.
to be, we don't want to claim like other people would claim African this and African that. We are the people this and that. I don't think that is what is going to solve our problem.
That's
I don't
right.
think that if we are going to go the superior way, thinking that we are superior, we are going to change the problem. I think for me, what will change is for us to know that we are just as normal as an American, as normal as a British,
That's
as
right.
normal as a Japanese. And
Mm.
we can do what other people have done. And we
Yeah.
need to start doing these things.
That's right.
So that's why, this conversation, is going to go on for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring Africans of all, disciplines, and we just come and we hang out here on African Legends. And so
Thank
I
you.
just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with me today, Dr. Gonde.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me here. I wish we could talk, or we could talk and talk and talk, and it's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you very, very much. You must recommend some of these African legends to me so that I can bring them on this program as well.
No worries. We'll keep in touch, and I'll do that.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
And please just have a great time there in Harare. It's a great city. I used to come to that city and I would go to Jaggers. I don't know whether Jaggers is still there. Jaggers.
Jaggers, all right, yes.
Yeah. But thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time. And God bless you.
God bless you too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.